Hey guys, I just want to apologize that there is no music this week. I have about enough time in a week these days to produce one video every week. And so this week, it's just been a little bit special to me. We hit 20,000 subscribers, and so I just wanted to take a little bit of time, create something that allowed you guys to kind of see a different side of me, and also create something that allowed me to answer some of the questions that you guys have asked me. So I ended up asking a friend of mine, Robert Jackson, to sort of go through and manage some of the questions that you guys have asked. And then I asked him that he would sort of MC the next part of this video, just to sort of give me somebody to kind of dialogue with in light of these questions. I hope you guys enjoy this. If you feel like your question was not answered, always feel free to email me at david@dvicmusic.com. If you don't like this video, that's cool. We'll be back to music videos next week. So thank you guys for watching so much. Thank you for subscribing, for sticking around and supporting me, and I'll see you guys next week, okay?
Hey guys, we're here with DVIC from DVIC Music, and we're gonna do a quick little interview to celebrate 20,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
And how does that feel?
It feels really crazy, but it feels really good.
That's awesome. All right, so what's been going on with you lately? I know you've been traveling a lot.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about where you've been.
So the last month, I'm always kind of traveling, just doing collaborations. So if you want to collaborate, let me know. But the last month I was in, I had made my way to Washington, Washington State in Spokane. I had done a collaboration with a church out there. I think it was the Flood the Earth video that maybe some of you guys have seen a couple weeks ago. From there, I was there for a week. Went to Montana. I was in Montana for about a month, working on my album and kind of collaborating with some musicians there. And then from Montana, I made my way to Kansas City because there is a few YouTubers that have kind of a video crew that I'm going to be working with to produce the music videos that I'm going to be shooting for some of the songs in my album. So, and then make my way back. So, yeah.
Okay, so you said the album word. Let's talk about that a little bit. Where are you at in that process?
So I'm well into it. I have the majority of it done. I probably have about 2 more weeks of finalizing everything. So probably at the begining of November sometime, I will be making an announcement as to when that will be coming out. And so I'm not going to say when about that is. Hopefully it'll be fairly soon. I just don't want to make any dates yet, but I'll be announcing the release date probably in the beginning of November or whatever. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So in that process, what would you say has been probably like the most challenging thing and also the most rewarding thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for those of you who know, I am producing this album completely on my own, and so to just be like raw, like creative is really difficult because in the process I'm actually learning how to produce it. I mean, I do weekly videos, but to do something that's really highly produced, I'm learning stuff. So I have to go to YouTube, I have to call people that I know. I just have to do a ton of like trial and error and stuff like that, and it's really discouraging, especially when it really kind of sets you back in time, and I think it really makes me feel kind of like I'm like, do I have what it takes, to like do this, and I think that is really discouraging for me. But I think the encouraging part has been just like that this whole thing has been like I just have to have grace on myself, like, because like the whole thing is like, this is my first, I'm just trying to get it out. I'm not trying to like impress anybody. I'm just trying to so I can take the next step with it or with my next album and just get over some of the anxiety of putting stuff out. And so I think that has been really encouraging to me, just knowing that I don't have to like just make to impress, and also like it's just, I'm really excited that it's mine, that it's just like it's me. It's like the whole thing from beginning to end is just me, and this is just a big step of me being brave as an artist, and for just where I have been in the struggles of putting stuff out. And so I mean that is really exciting to me.
All right, so last week you had your viewers submit questions with the hashtag DVIC20K in the comment section of your most recent video. So let's get into some of those and see what your subscribers want to know.
Okay.
So Peter Gregg, he asks first, even though you may not sing their style, what cutting edge bands influence you in both the secular and the Christian realms?
Okay. I think just as far as Christian goes, the first band that comes to my mind is King's Kaleidoscope. I think the thing I love about them is I think they're cutting edge in how rich in theology that they are, and I think a lot of like Christian music and worship music these days, it tends to be almost to the point where you could sing it about a girl or the opposite sex if you really wanted to, and which isn't bad. I mean, because that like God is love, and he has those emotions, and he gives us those emotions, and but I think bands like King's Kaleidoscope are so rich in theology and aren't scared to talk about it and sing about it, and I just think that is so powerful, because faith comes through hearing the Word of God, and when you're singing about the Word of God, I mean, that's when faith is going to be developed. And so I think, I mean, unfortunately, I think that's a little bit cutting edge to sing about Jesus's blood, in the Christian realm. I just think it's a little bit unfortunate, but I so appreciate them for that, and their style is just very, I think, brave. I don't know another word for it. I think they try things that a lot of bands, especially in the Christian realm, would not try.
I agree. I think it's a great answer. So what about in the secular realm?
Yeah, I'm gonna feel a little bit embarrassed about this, but not really. I really, honestly, okay, like I love Taylor Swift, and I'm not.
Hold on, you gotta explain this.
Okay. I mean, you're saying cutting edge. Clearly, like anything she puts out, people at first kind of scoff at, and then I mean, kind of like we had been talking, we've talked about this before, or whatever. But just like people follow that. Like there's already music out there being created that is mimicking what Taylor has already just put out. And I think as much as people want to dog on her, and I mean there is a lot of things about her that I don't necessarily agree with, but people follow her. She does kind of what she wants, and I mean you can tell that she has her own people and musicians that influence her, but at the end of the day, she kind of carves the way for a lot of what people do, and I think I am so drawn to people who I think are kind of brave in that aspect, and just kind of risk something and go for it and just put it out. And then all of a sudden that becomes, what people are actually kind of saying, like, wow, that's the next thing. And so, yeah, and I love Taylor Swift. I think she's brave in a lot of ways, and I don't know, she just inspires me. Honestly, I'm not gonna try to hide that. She does inspire me. So,
well, I wasn't expecting that answer, but that makes a lot of sense. All right, Peter Gregg also asks, can you give a little deeper explanation of your audio chain?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Okay, well, I'll just assume that he's referring to just where the audio starts and kind of where it ends or whatever. I wish I could show you the.
I'll tell you what, I've got an idea. Let's just shoot a video on this.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, yeah, I'll show you guys. I don't want to move out cameras because I have like 3 different cameras, and it took forever to kind of set them up or whatever. But we will, I'll shoot a little video of this. Hey, what's up? So right here, I just hang, I literally have, it's a Neumann TLM 103, and I literally just have, what are these called? I don't know.
Zip ties.
Yeah, zip ties onto this thing. And if you want to just show them the bar that goes across. So that, like, I bought that as, that hangs like drapes, and it's for like photography and stuff like that. And I just needed something with a little bit of like stability or whatever to hang a mic over, and so I don't know if that's the way to do it, but that's that. And then so the line just kind of goes over here. Obviously it's just an XLR down to the floor, no big deal. It's just all over the place, and then it just goes right into just an interface, and that interface is connected to my computer, which is into Logic, and that's it. So I mean.
We got 3 cameras here too.
Yeah, the 3 cameras. Yep.
2, 3.
Hi.
All right, so that's a pretty good explanation.
Yeah.
Next up, Dom has a pretty large question here.
Okay.
Don wants to know, what is your story?
Okay. So that's kind of, I mean, that's obviously a very vague question, but I'll try to kind of stick with Jesus and music, because those are the big things in my life. I came to know Christ when I was 19 years old. It was when I was in college. It was then that I felt God really challenged me to learn music. I was kind of dabbling in music a little bit when I was in high school and stuff like that, and but it was in college when I came to know Him that I really felt like He was like, I want you to start, taking steps towards this. So really, honestly, college I didn't really start learning instruments until college. Like I said, I dabbled a little bit, but it was when I started taking it seriously and saying, I want to do this. And just from there, I sort of started getting into worship bands and playing for that. And I felt like God just really opened the doors without me even really trying. I just felt like that was really clearly where He was kind of leading me. From there, I graduated college. I started doing, I didn't honestly know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do music, and I was asked to help out with the church plant. So I was leading worship for a church plant out in Seattle for a few years, and I liked it. I was really honestly struggling with it a lot for whatever reasons, and then a few years later, I was hired at a church down in Mississippi, kind of where I'm at now, and so from there, I was working for a church for a few years, and I think that's when it really started to dawn on me that it had nothing to do with the church. It had nothing to do with anybody in particular or anything like that. I just really was struggling with leading worship for a church, and anybody who leads worship really, I think, can kind of attest to this, that leading worship for a church, you're not really it's like 85% management. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like super creative. Not saying that it can't be. Some people are probably better at that, but you're primarily taking care of musicians and making sure that everything is aligned, making sure that things happen on a Sunday. And that to me was just really discouraging, because those were all not my gifts. I just wasn't very good at that. And I had learned how to be good at it, but just wasn't very natural and didn't excite me or anything like that. And I think the hardest thing for me was, I love music, I love Jesus. That should equal worship pastor or leader or whatever you want to call it. And so I think I had some guilt with that. But I mean, kind of what had transitioned that was, it just made me knowing that God was good, knowing that I don't necessarily have to be in this mold. Just kind of really started asking God, what do you want me to do? Why do I have this kind of dissonance in my heart? And anyway, a year or two into working for this church, I started making music videos. I had saved up a bunch of money so that I could either produce an album or something, because I really wanted to do something outside of just the church or whatever. And basically what ended up happening was, I got to the point where I was like, I saw how much it would cost to do an album, and not only could I not afford it, but I was like, that's all my money. That's all of it. You know what I mean? I don't I saved up for so long to produce half an album, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then what do I do after that? I don't know. It was just really discouraging to me. And so, and I had kind of produced an album before that. And so I was like, and it was with somebody who was really good, but I was still really just kind of frustrated with it, because there was always more that I wanted to do with it. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a risk. I'm gonna buy some stuff that so that I can kind of produce my own stuff. You know what I mean? And I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I literally just bought a few things, and with the musicians that I was working with at the church, started making music videos. And that was the first time in my life that I really felt, it was the first time that I had started getting exposure in a way that people started noticing me, who weren't my friends and who weren't my mom, and liking my stuff. And that was the first time in my life that I had any sort of influence outside of my friends and family. And I think it was at that time that it started really making me go, okay, I think there's something to this, you know. And just as I did it, I did that for about 2 years, just, you know, made about a video a month, and then from there I just started, you know, realizing that this could really be something, and it needs to be more. I need to be putting more time into it and be more consistent with it. And so about a little over a year ago, I had raised about 2 years worth of funds to do this, you know, for 2 years and see kind of what happens in that time. And in that time, you know, hopefully raise some money so that I can get to a place where I can, you know, be a little bit more self-sufficient with it. And but it was a big leap of faith. It was just something that I really, after a lot of like thinking about and praying about and considering, it got to this point where I was like, I had to make a decision. I either had to jump all in or kind of take a step back with it. And I really felt like God was kind of giving me the nudge to just run with it. And so I did, and it's been about a year of doing this or whatever. So
man, that's awesome. 20,000 subscribers later, you're still doing it.
I guess, yeah.
That's fantastic. So kind of along the lines of where your last question ended,
yeah.
Naomi wants to know, when you first got started, what was the very first piece of sound equipment that you purchased?
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody about this. I started, I done a little bit of research or whatever, and I mean, honestly, the first thing I bought was that mic that I had, just show you guys. I was looking at, you know, music videos and how, you know, how they're kind of made, and essentially all I needed was basically a microphone and a camera. So yeah, the microphone was, I mean, I did a bunch of research on it, and I didn't really know enough, and that's why I bought a really expensive one, because I knew that it would it wouldn't do me wrong, kind of, you know, and so that's kind of why I went into that. But honestly, like, I mean, I'm a little bit embarrassed, but like I didn't know what all came with that, so I bought a microphone, and I realized it needed, you know, to be plugged in. It needed, you know, an interface. It needed, you know, the little dongles to go into my computer, and then I realized I needed a program to be able to actually, you know, manipulate the sound or make it to what, you know, give it compression and reverb, you know, and stuff like that. And I don't know, I had to learn all that stuff, you know, but yeah, the microphone, I knew that was the first step, and I needed to play around with it, and that was the first thing.
Nice. Well, that you actually mentioned the next question too. Olivia wants to know, what video editing program do you use?
Yeah, okay. I guess that's a really easy question. I just use Final Cut Pro 10. So there's a lot out there that are really good. I know there's Adobe stuff that's really good out there. For me, I had kind of grown up with the Mac computer, and I would use iMovie stuff and you know, GarageBand and stuff like that. And so those ones I learned were really, really high quality editing software, and it was basically a lot of the same concepts that were through iMovie, and so I was at least very, you know, or at least familiar with it somehow, rather than starting all over in a new program or whatever. But yeah, Final Cut Pro 10 or X. So
awesome. There you have it. Okay, great. Well, we had a lot of great questions submitted, and we tried to pick the ones that would be overall the best and get the most information communicated in the amount of time that we've got.
Yeah.
So before we go, though, you did mention briefly that you had raised support for 2 years before you started doing videos, right?
Yeah, yep.
So moving forward, what's a way that your subscribers like us can get involved in supporting your projects?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So I, like you guys kind of heard, I basically raised money for about 2 years so that I could really see where this goes. And kind of my biggest goal was to really kind of push my Patreon. And for those of you who don't know, I'll just put a little link in the description about that. But that's where a lot of my money goes towards new gear, and honestly some of my travel funds and honestly some of my bills. And so I try to make a bunch of incentives there. That's where that's where I give all my music away for free, just because they're cover songs and I don't want to put them up anywhere. And so I offer them as a gift to people who donate to that. And basically it's just a place where people donate as little as $1 per every creation that I put out, and I put them out like once a week or whatever. But that kind of ensures sort of like a salary for me to continue to kind of proclaim the gospel through music and creativity. And so yeah, if y'all are honestly looking to support me in any way, obviously that's the biggest way because it's consistent. But obviously I'm going to be putting out music and purchasing my album, sharing my stuff, talking about my stuff. I mean, obviously it's helps out a lot or whatever. But
well, that's awesome, man. So as you guys heard, head on over to that Patreon page, and also be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So in closing, DVIC, what do you want to say to all 20,000 of your subscribers?
I don't know. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for your support, and I guess I will just see you guys next week.